together. Yes, okay. Well, if I do have some images. Tom Kerr gave me some he had post-processed, and the others had given me some images that we looked at my class last Saturday. And I have those, so I can, I can show those if we have time.
Okay, well, we got, we don't have that many images.
Okay.
Tom's extended family is in town.
Oh, yes.
So he's which is good. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
But he says, I'd rather be doing this than doing the family dinners. And I said, well, no. You gotta do the family dinners.
Continue with this club.
Yeah.
We
You
do it
know?
remotely, like we have been doing. So he's gonna try to.
Here comes Pat Jamarillo.
Oh, how good.
But I wouldn't count on it. I think we'll be driving it.
Hey,
Is that
Pat.
Gary that we're hearing?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, I see. I had to click to see the other people. Oh, Rick too. Good.
So now Mary Lou Ann Johnson Farah,
Yes.
Sent in images, and she's not
Yeah.
able to join us tonight. Do you know anything
Okay.
about her?
Yes. Yeah. She came to the church last Saturday, and we'll show her pictures, and I will jot down. Or you're recording anyway.
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. She can look at it later.
Yep.
I'm glad she sent them in. She wasn't able to be available tonight. So if you're recording, she would said that would be great.
Yep. Well, Tom wants to see it, even though he didn't.
Yeah.
I said, well, send us some images so we can, while you're not there, we can talk behind your back about them.
Well, I have them, so we can talk behind his back. Because he did send them to me, and I didn't realize he hadn't sent to you, or I could have done that ahead of time.
Well, we've got Jeff is here, Maria's here, Mary Lou is here, Pat is here. So that's everybody except Ann. So might as well start.
Sure, right,
If that's okay with everybody.
sure. We need to have somebody who gives a lesson on how to do a meeting like this. So we can learn.
Hopefully on your screen, you are seeing an image as opposed to a bunch of images.
I'm seeing a bunch of images.
Okay. That's
You know
what I
what-
was afraid of.
I'm so glad when somebody else has that trouble, because I just don't know how to share screen efficiently.
How's this?
Yes, perfect. One image.
Okay.
Beautiful.
What I did was the first image is the original shot.
Okay, good.
Then the second image is the one that's edited. So this is one of Ann's, and this is the unedited,
That's the chapel.
shot from the corner.
Yes.
Evan, can you make it fill the screen?
Oh, picky. Let's see.
It looks like in the lower right, there's like that double-headed arrow thing, maybe that.
Oh,
How's
that.
that?
Yeah. That did it.
Thanks. Mhm.
That made it bigger.
Does that help you, Jeff?
Yeah, it looks good, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the original.
Yes, and I don't have it next to me. When people came, I gave them a brochure on the church and a little of its history, but the
Oh.
windows were designed with a company out of New York City. And the building is going to be 100 years old next February.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
it goes way back. And what's unusual, I don't know, we'll see what comes up, but it isn't just the chapel and the sanctuary. There are stained glass windows all over this church. Beautiful ones up on the third floor. They wouldn't do that any longer if they
Yeah,
built.
the windows are beautiful.
Yeah,
And this
and,
is her edited shot.
very nice. Oh, and what she did very well is to control the light coming from that chandelier.
Yeah, look, I mean, because in the original, they're all blown out.
Yeah. And now I'm going to do a lesson on Saturday, talking how to do simple manual blending, because that is one of the biggest troubles when you're at a low lighted building, which has electric lights. That's very hard to expose correctly for the light. She did a beautiful job. So I thought I'm going to go into the church tomorrow and take
Okay.
a few shots and do a little demo on Saturday about that. But she did, I don't know how she did it. She's not here to tell us. But I'm guessing she had to have one shot that really correctly exposed that. Aha, okay, here's the sanctuary.
And this is the right out of the camera, unedited.
Before you move it, she did what I didn't think to warn people about. She exposed for the brightest lights and then adjusted for the darker part.
Ah,
Yeah, which was important. Yeah. Oh, that's a side view of the a side of the church where the organ is and the organ pipes.
okay.
And that's a neat, I never thought of shooting from that location. Isn't it amazing how she brought up the shadows? And if she wanted to, probably with that degree of brightness, she could have used some luminosity selections and dimmed down those lights a little, but it was not possible if they were overexposed. Yeah, nice.
Oh, here's her layers from the first one of what she did.
Oh, good. She gave us that. Wow. Oh, my goodness.
So
That-
she removed the light orbs wherever those were. She dodged the white, adjusted exposure, burned the black paint, hue and saturation. Oh, this is great.
Yeah, I'll have to ask her if she could send me the PSD file, because it would be nice in our class if we could look at that in detail.
Yes, it would be.
Yeah, well, I'll ask Ann for that,
All
because
right.
that's really helpful.
This is, hang on. Oh, this is yours, Jeff.
Yep. That's the before.
This is the before. Ta-da,
Okay.
ta-da, after. Ooh.
Ooh, how did you bring the lights down, Jeff?
So what I did was I took, first of all, I used a lens that I recently got. It's a Laowa 12 millimeter f2.8 0D. It's a pretty wide angle lens, but it has like a rectilinear lens construction. So if you go back to the original one, usually like a wide angle lens like that, you'll get like a lot of barrel distortion.
Yeah.
But you can see like all the verticals are nice and straight
That's right.
on this lens. And if like I use a 3-axis bubble level, so if you can get the pitch axis to be level, then the verticals will be straight and they'll also be like perpendicular. So for this one, I shot like I did exposure bracketing sequences of 3 shots, 2 stops apart, and I kept on like going down, because I know a lot of times when you take a picture like this, like the brightest spot is such a small part of the picture, like the light bulbs,
Right.
and you can't you know, you can't really see it because it's such a small part. You don't really see it on the histogram, and then later on you can see it's like all blown out. So I just kept on going down further and further. So this one, let's see, I used 6 images. I selected 3. They ranged from like 1/13 of a second to a 50th of a second. And I put the 6 of them into Aurora HDR. And so I did some adjustments in there. And then I increased the detail, dynamic structure, highlights, made the shadows a little darker, because a lot of times like in those HDRs, they kind of get kind of washed out because they
Yeah.
kind of try to move everything toward the middle. So I kind of brought the highlights up a little and the shadows a little darker to give it some more contrast. And then I did some of the other kind of monkey business that I usually do to it. Like putting it in Sharpen AI, and I always like to look at the images, and on one they have like some presets, and the one is called Hot Desert. And so the one called Hot Desert, like HD7, like it's usually it's a little too strong, but like if you slide the opacity down a little bit,
Right.
so it makes a nice warm look to it. So
Yeah.
it worked really good with the wood and the red tiles and everything in this picture.
Do you know what your aperture was?
It was f5.6.
Oh, so you didn't have, you wouldn't think you'd have as much depth of field as this.
Right. So probably being that it's a 12 millimeter, such a wide angle,
Okay,
it
right.
gives you like a deeper depth of field. And then also, like if you go back to the original one for a second, I cropped the bottom off. So the bottom, like toward the bottom, it was a little bit soft. But the main reason I did that was I wanted to have like that door and the stained glass window and that banner. I wanted that to be like right in the middle, because everything, all these lines kind of are leading you that way. And
Yeah.
and,
for,
that, and this,
for others who weren't there, this is taken from the front of the church, looking
Yes.
back toward the back entrance.
yeah. Mhm.
Now, one thing you do get is elongating. In other words, it really isn't that far to have to walk from the front to the back. It looks,
Yeah.
you do get a longer stretched look.
Yeah. With the
So this
with
is
the wide
looking-
angle lens.
This is from the front looking back to
Toward the
the,
back of the sanctuary.
okay.
And so this one, let's see, the lights were on in this one, except one of them was burned out.
Oh, one little bulb, not the whole thing, but one little bulb in one of them is. Can you guess
Yes. So
how
if you,
we had some men
Fix
who've
it.
gotten older who used to climb a step ladder and change bulbs up there. And they
Mhm.
aren't as eager to climb that tall step.
Yeah,
So
they're
we've
up
got to
there.
figure out who can get up and do the bulb changing. It looks overwhelming to me.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
I love
it-
the, I
You
love
light
the
it, but you
detail
must
in-
have done something because the lights, bulbs are lit. You must have cloned in light, did you?
Oh, they were lit for this one.
Okay,
Yeah,
Well-
they were lit, and but they don't look blown out because I used so many different exposures, so that
Right,
I did have one that didn't have them blown out.
yeah, perfect. Well, you know what I'm thinking of doing is getting one where they're not blown out and then just manually blending the lights of that into the other picture rather than
Right.
turning it
So
over.
like my second picture that's gonna come up, Mary Lee, at that point you had turned the lights off.
I'd forgotten that I did.
Yeah, so the lights are out.
What a different look.
This is the
So-
original.
That's the original. So then this one, I used, so this one I did put some light into the bulbs.
There were
I
a few-
did,
Oh, yes, you artificially lit them. How clever.
yeah. So I took a soft white brush and just kind of clicked on all of them on like a blank layer. And then I could, kind of fool with the opacity to kind of blend it in. Okay. And I think I used a different blending mode even. I think I used like soft light or something.
Had you
make it
intended to
blend
crop
in.
the right side off there?
What's that?
The right side of the picture is out of the overlighted on the right. It looks like you wanted to crop it.
There's some kind of problem with it because it doesn't actually look like that.
Okay, but it looks to me like, though, if you
Oh,
made,
there we
there
go.
you go.
How's that?
what was that? What had caused that?
Well, wait, want to put my cursor over there?
Oh,
Oh, clever, all right.
yeah. So
Yeah.
this one, I did, again, I used like a exposure bracketing of 3 images, 2 stops apart, but I just used use that one to send into Aurora HDR. And then I had a bunch of other ones at different exposures that I use for different things. So like the stained glass, I painted in different images, like on different layers.
Mhm.
I did the same for the altar and the pipe organ and the stained glass of the altar and the arch of the altar. So I made like separate layers that were
Yes.
different exposures, so I could kind of control them, so everything would be the right exposure.
Yeah.
And then I
Very
cropped that
effective.
one too, because I wanted to again make that altar in the center, and I wanted to bring it out a little closer. So I cropped it, and then there was still like part of the pew ends were kind of there, so I just kind of wared them out of the picture.
So that's cool. That's from the back looking towards the front.
That's right. It's a reversal.
Mhm.
Now, I like what you did in this picture in the floor, better than the other one that had light on the aisle going up. This one looks, evenly lit all the way up the aisle. And that's
Yeah.
simple because you didn't have those overhead lights on.
Right. Yeah, all the lights were out
Yeah.
for this
You're
picture.
clever. You're really
So,
clever.
and it was nice because, like, if you look at the tiles on the floor, I could put like my front tripod leg like between the third and the fourth column of tiles,
Yes,
and then kind of make the back two tripod feet kind of line up. So
sure.
I would be perfectly centered and squared
Yeah,
to the scene, and then I had the bubble level to make sure I had the camera level in
Level.
the pitch axis, so all of the verticals are straight and perpendicular, so everything lined up really nice. It was very like geometrically everything kind of worked.
good. I don't think it was in the mind of the architect when he did that in the floor, that someday people would be able to put a tripod on it and line up the shot. But it's true. It's very symmetrical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a beautiful church. I mean, I had a great time taking pictures there.
Well, I'm glad you did. The hangings on the wall were hand done by a person who's no longer living. And they can be changed for seasons and things. And they're beautifully hand sewn. She cut out and made each one by hand.
Wow.
Yeah. So, gives a personal touch that isn't there when an architect does it. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. I love the contrast between daylight and the interior light in the front. Yeah. Very nice.
That would be mine. Hi, Mary Lou.
Hi.
I'm sorry I wasn't able to make it that day. I was
Oh,
working.
yeah.
But this is from the Blessed Trinity Church. I had been there a few times
Yes.
before COVID, and I went back just for this. I called and asked if I can come in, and they said, you have an hour.
They were very
Okay, I'll go in for an hour. So I took advantage of the sunlight on this
Yeah.
one. And it looks a little bit different on my computer, but of course I haven't done any photoshopping yet. So if you guys wanted to tell me what you would do to make that better, I would really appreciate that.
Well, because what you're used to doing, you could use a gradient filter to darken the right side and not darken the left. You could bring
Okay.
down that side, or you could do it by simply using a mask on a layer and let you see what you want to see and mask away on the mask what you don't want to see in a layer. To
Okay,
even that out, that would be the challenge.
I see.
Because you want to keep the sunlight.
Right.
But, now, if you open this in Camera Raw, you could also play around with the brights and see if you could bring them down a little.
Okay.
But I'd like to see more contrast in the symbol above the door.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
And you probably can do that in post-processing.
Okay.
You can go in and select that area so that if you select it first and then you open an adjustment layer, it'll be a matte it'll give you a mask already so that whatever you do only affects that part.
I
And
see.
you could add both some saturation and some brightness and contrast and bring out that pattern.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting building. I've heard nice things about it.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
2,
That's the pipes from the organ up in the balcony.
oh,
That was a difficult shot to get. Did you have much choice as to where you stood?
Yeah, I took about 10 of those and picked the best one that I thought I liked the best.
Yeah. See, it would have been helpful if you could have had a step ladder in the middle aisle. and
Yeah,
got
well, you
yourself
know what?
high.
There's a big organ in front of that. And it
Oh,
was
I see.
back
Okay.
in the middle. And then they had these big microphones that I had to work around.
Okay.
So it wasn't easy, but I thought I liked it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting church.
yeah, and if you wanted to post-process this, you could, bring up the shadows that would bring out
Right.
more of
Yeah.
what's in the picture.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's some detail on that upper left corner that would be interesting to see.
Yep,
Yeah. And I couldn't get that on both sides, the way the organ was positioned. I wanted to
Sure.
get the whole thing.
You may not have had a wide enough lens either. Is that
That could
possible?
be too.
Yeah. Yeah. When you get inside a closed building, you don't think about it ahead, but a wide angle lens is very helpful.
Mhm. And then this
Oh.
was from the balcony looking down.
very interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting
It's a
angle.
neat angle.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's a very different style than Central Park is, It's
Mhm.
interesting to see how different
Yeah.
churches can be.
Yeah, I've been here 3 times to take pictures and I just never get tired of it. And as I hopefully get a little better taking pictures, I just take different ones.
Well, and I
But-
want everybody to know that I have a key to Central Park Church. And the only time it's busy is Sunday morning or when there's a funeral. So if some people would like to get back in and do something, like I'm thinking of doing something in June when we have better daylight and maybe making it a little bit later in the morning so we have more light coming in through those windows.
That would be
But I
fun.
have access to it at any time. So if somebody has a project they want to do, I can easily go and open the church for you.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
And this is Pat's, right?
I can't remember.
It's so similar. Other people could have done it too.
Oh,
Doesn't
no,
take
wait,
us-
no. This is Mary Lou's.
This is before of mine.
Right.
And I wasn't taking pictures that day. I was leading people all over the church. So I went back to ones I'd taken a few years ago. And I
Okay.
realized one of the reasons I wanted to go back tomorrow is I know more now than I knew then. And I need to do multiple exposures to get those lights down. Because if I get the lights down on their own, then I don't have to hold down the exposure on the other part. And my plan is to blend them manually together
Okay.
and see how that will work as an idea. Yeah. But I think the other one, I started out with less exposure on the lights and it worked a little better. This one, I tried to do what I could do, but we all know once something is overexposed, there's not much you can do to really, you can make it look gray, but you can't give it any natural
No,
detail. No. And what's fun about a church like this is you can adjust the color according to what your memory of it is. And so I think one of them I really made the pews have more reds in them than they did in this one, but it's fun. And this is the one shooting toward the front. And I think you can see I kept down the lights a little bit more in this one.
yep,
But I still want to go out and do that in layers. But in my case, I used the, oh yes, what is the skew? What I'm trying to think of, transform. I used the transform perspective because I too was able to get right in the center. So I did a transform skew perspective to bring up both sides. And then usually there's some little minor error. And then the skew one allows you to fix one corner if it wasn't. But I, again, was able to be very centered when I did this back sometime. Yeah. Ooh.
This, I think, is Pat's.
Yes, that's correct. This
And-
actually was at a church in Ellicottville. I was there and just I thought it was I love St. Francis, so I had St. Francis and St. Anthony.
Oh, come.
So that's the before. And then the after, I just brightened up the colors.
And you know, are you familiar with using the transform tool?
No,
Oh, it's a wonderful tool. I'll mention it in class because if you don't have a perspective problem, in other words, this is skewed. It's not exactly straight.
yeah, I couldn't get there were people around. I couldn't
Yeah,
get.
so what you do is you take the transform skew tool, which allows you to pull each corner separately from the others. So in this case, you can bring the bottom right corner down to level those windows across. And then if you look at it and you need to lift the top left corner a little, you can work with each corner of your image separately till it's absolutely straight. And the trick on that tool is to always go to the corner that you want to pull out. Because if you pull in the opposite corner, you end up losing part of your picture because part of the frame outside the picture appears. So you always want to pull out from whatever corner will straighten it up.
Oh,
And that would be very
Oh.
easy to straighten. Just the bottom right has to come down to make that one line straight. And then when that's
Right.
done, you can look and say, if the bottom corner looks like you would take it into the middle, instead, pull the top corner out. And you can work each corner till it's straight. And then it crops
Mm.
itself. You don't have to crop it. They're
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you.
colors. Lovely colors.
Yeah, it was a beautiful church in I think Holy Name of Mary, I think, in Ellicottville.
Oh, it's not that far away.
This one's actually St. Aloysius in Cheektowaga. And that's the before and then the after, the same thing, the sun was coming right through.
Yes.
And then I could do the same thing, the transform to straighten
Sure.
it out.
And you know, you see the light that's coming through that one bright part? If you'd moved your body a little bit, you might have been able to force that sun behind the middle instead of behind the glass. It really,
Oh,
it pays to walk around. And you know, when we're on a tripod, problem is we tend to leave the tripod and think it's not as movable as the camera is. I remember working with a gentleman who was a wonderful photographer, and we were doing sunrise pictures, and we had our tripods up. And finally he said, okay, get your camera off your tripod now. There's enough light, because we were staying in one place. We were acting as if the tripod was fixed to the ground. And of course, you pick up your tripod and move as easily as you can move your feet. And I have a feeling that if you moved a little bit to the left, you might have caught that light behind the middle section and evened the light out.
right.
Yeah, would have been interesting. Part of the fun, if you're in this kind of a situation, is to have not be told that you only have an hour. You know, to have enough time that you can not be afraid you'll run out and just spend time experimenting.
Yeah.
Those are lovely windows.
they are.
This is Christ the King. It's a small chapel they have. And that's the before. And then the after, what I did was actually just crop it and went right in.
Oh, and just got that. See, I would love to know more about architecture, to know something about the style. You know, churches that have beautiful things like this need to get some advice. I have a very old booklet on the architecture of Central Park, and we've used some of that to make a brochure which features some of the windows. but I need to read it more thoroughly because it has a lot of good information. And I'd love to know something about the style of that cross.
Mhm.
One thing you could do here, Pat, is take this either in Lightroom or in Adobe Camera Raw in Photoshop and get a brush. And then turn down the highlights a little bit and brush like right in here.
Right. Hmm.
See if you can take some of that shine off the gold. This is when I saw this, I go, why did she focus on this? And then I looked at it, I'm going, ah, this is
You'd never see this detail if
No.
you had the wider view.
right.
See, and I don't know it, but there's got to be some significance to the 6 parts of what goes around the center. Is in
Right.
6 sections. And I don't know biblically where the 6 comes from, but I bet you it has some reference.
Because something like this, there is a story behind it. There's got to be something.
Yes.
So interesting. I like your idea of the churches getting more information out on them.
Yeah. And I'm guessing most churches have something in their records with some of that, but it's never been put out. So we're getting around to doing at least a little of it so you appreciate some of the windows.
So this is actually at your church, Mary Lou, in the side chapel. I just
Okay.
liked the feel of it.
Yeah.
So that's the before. I had some that didn't include part of the window, but this one actually I liked them. And then I just switched it to black and white and some of the shadows.
Yeah, I chuckle, Pat, because there's an awful lot of maintenance in a church that's 100 years old. If you look at the upper left corner, there's some plaster or something that needs a little work.
We won't mention that, Mary.
What?
So
Yeah.
we won't mention that.
But it's one thing to own a beautiful old church. It's another thing to try to maintain it. Really challenging.
This is
Oh,
actually at Saint Joseph University Church.
on Main Street.
Yeah. So this is in the main altar. That's the before, and then actually I just went in the after and just focused more on the part and just warmed it up.
What are the figures there near the top? Are they elder bells? They're angels with their
With the
horns.
Yeah.
They almost look like serpents.
I
Interesting.
think that's it, folks. Hang on. Yep, this is the last one.
Okay, now I don't know that we could figure out how to have me share my screen, but I can show you the ones that I have that weren't sent in to you.
Well, hang on here. Let's try this. Never done this. I know there's a way.
Well, you can turn on share screen, so I can click on it.
Can you see share screen down here or no?
Yeah, just a minute. I just,
Oh,
I
wait a
have
minute,
to go
wait a minute,
back.
wait a minute. Here, one participant, multiple participants.
And I need to, let's see, I have to go back to Zoom. Okay, I'm at Zoom. Shall I click share screen?
Yeah,
And I need to click on the one I want to share, which is Adobe Bridge. Do you see it?
yep.
Okay, and I can go to Tom Kerr and I can put him in a mode. And I put these before and after too. Now this is an interesting view because in the corner at the top is the old font. He got behind the font and shot into the church. And so this is his before, and then this is his after, which he blurred out the back and cropped away some of it and got the detail in the wood carving of the
We
font.
just see the bridge, Mary Lou.
What?
We just see Adobe Bridge.
Oh, you aren't seeing the picture?
Nope.
How, why not?
Well, because you shared the bridge, so bring up the image. and
Oh, okay,
share
let
it.
me go back a minute. I have to, here's, okay, here's bridge. Then I clicked on an image. No, I
You-
didn't want to do that. And
Well,
I
you need to-
wanted to show that image. When I
Yeah,
showed it.
What you
didn't-
need to, yeah, Mary Lou, the
Yeah.
first thing you need to do is stop sharing.
Okay, all right, let me go back and I have to get rid of this, escape. And go back over to here and come on, I've got to get back to where oh, stop share, I see it. Okay,
Okay. Now, click you before you share,
yeah.
go to bridge, click on the image you want to do, and then share your
Oh.
screen.
Oh, thank you. See, it's wonderful if I've learned to do this today.
And we'll put you in charge next time.
Okay, I can make it so it fills it. Now I have to go back and share,
Right.
which means I can't be in full screen. I have to go back now and hit share screen. Now I see the same thing. I see desktop with you. I don't see I see bridge, but not the full close-up of bridge.
Oh,
Huh. Like if I go to this, do you see bridge?
yes.
Okay, now, if I go in and pull up an image, shouldn't you be able to see that image?
I'll try it.
I can see it underneath you. Now it's underneath Kevin.
What do you mean? It's not in the middle of the screen?
No. In the middle of the screen is all his pictures. The-
Yeah, oh, yes, okay. Now I want to bring up one. And so I might simply, can you see it now as one?
No,
Why? It says your screen sharing is paused.
because you need to bring up. that
Resume
image.
share. Did that do anything?
No. Mary Lou,
Yes.
you need to bring up the image, one baptismal start on your screen as an image, then
Okay.
share that image and then
I
share your
tried to, but
screen.
when I did that, I lost, I'll try it again. I lost the option to share, but we'll try it. I'm sorry for people waiting, but I've been wanting to know how to do this. I have to go back to here, and I haven't shared it, so I'm gonna bring up this one image. And then I have to come down, and I don't have any. It's funny. The minute I go to slideshow it, I'm in full screen. And then I lose my ability to share.
Huh.
There's got to be a way to do this.
When you open the image, what does it open in?
I'm in Bridge. It's showing you in Bridge.
So it
I-
opens in Bridge?
It opens in a slideshow in Bridge. So if I take it instead and I open it, but it won't look very interesting. If I open it, will it let me, I would love to know how, there's gotta be a way. Somebody said, share your screen, desktop, not to an application. So let me see what would happen. If I go, when I hit share screen, whiteboard, iPhone, mailbox, Google Chrome, Adobe, Bridge. It doesn't, oh, basic. What about advanced? Slides versus as virtual, glory. I'm sorry. There must be a way. No, nobody knows for sure. It says share.
Well, are those JPEGs in folders on your drive?
Yes, they are.
Okay, then get out of Bridge.
Okay, I will do that. Let's
And go to the
cancel.
individual folders, bring up
We
the
get
image.
rid of bridge. We'll close it. Quit. Okay, let me get rid of this. I'm back seeing you. So now I should just go to my desktop.
Wherever those folders are, go to the folder.
Yeah. Yep. I
Pull
can
up an
have
image.
Tom.
Pull up
Tom,
an
there's
image.
here are I'm wondering if this is the. Yeah, there's one that it shouldn't. I have one that says it's a raw, but we'll forget about that. Let's see what happens. So if I go, should I select all of them?
No, select
No.
one image.
One image.
Okay, bring it up and then do share screen.
Let me get rid of the internet up there. Okay, I've got to get rid of the background. I have these other things open. I'm going to get rid of them. Okay, now you say I should be able to share this. But the trouble is, well, I have to go back to Zoom and find share screen. Do you see anything?
No, did you click on the image?
I
in
don't
share
have it.
screen?
If I share screen, if you don't see anything at all,
No,
Just you. What do you see when you click share screen?
I see whatever is open on my screen.
So it should be the window that has the image, and just click on that and you'll be sharing that window.
Okay, let me go back basic here, share. You
there we
see?
go.
There we go.
Oh,
There we go.
okay. What would happen if I try to open two so we could compare them? Do you think that would work?
No, I don't think that, I don't know how to do that. Let's just, so,
Okay, well, this is the one that that was his first shot taken from behind that baptismal font.
yeah,
And then he went ahead and processed it. So I should be able to quickly go back here and
oh, you should
it
have been able to just move to the next one from that.
means, let me look here. The next one,
You have a Mac, Mary Lou?
yes. Okay, here's the, do you see this? I moved to the next one, but I lost the share.
You could select all of them and then open them in preview, and they'll all be in the same window, and then you could hit the arrow and move
Oh,
from
good.
one
Let's
to the
try that.
next.
Okay, I'm gonna go over to preview. And I'm going to open all of those. Open. Here's Tom. All 6 open. Oh, it won't open the,
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the
it's great.
Finder, just select all 4 of them, or however many there are. And then double click them, and then I'll open them all up in preview, like in
now
one
they're
window.
they're supposedly open in preview now. If I come back to Zoom and I share, can I click on this?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
Oh, glory. Well, let's see if I can find what I shared them all. Let's find where they are. And if we don't have the one that we don't have the finished one of this, so forget it. Let's go and look at the next one. Can you see that?
Yep.
That's his before shot. And you can see it hasn't had any other stuff corrected. This is his finished on that one. And he did not deal with, you can see the bright lights. So that's still something that would have to be dealt with. And I agree before that what we have to do is get multiple exposures. Have one where the lights are exposed correctly and blended in with the rest, because almost everything else is equally bright. It's just that one. But anyway, let me see if I have my screen. Does it look over bright where you are?
no,
No, okay. All right, then let me go down and see, this is his before. I want to get rid of this bunch of you. Okay, so that's up close to the altar area. And then this is his finished one of the altar area. And And again, the problem I see in this is that one problem of how you deal with the very bright lights.
Yeah,
And-
Mary Lou,
Yeah,
go back to the original.
okay,
You know how you're talking about the transform tool?
yes.
I'll bet that's what he did to straighten everything out. Go.
Oh,
in-
I'm sure he did. But I'm concerned about the fact that the lights, they're not quite, they're too bright here.
Yeah,
He's timed them down. But when I was playing around, when you get them at that stage, the only thing you can do further on those is turn them gray. In other words, they're overexposed in the capture.
right.
So the trick is to take multiple exposures, and even if you don't want a multiple exposure of the whole church, you need to add in one exposure where the lights are done right. And then blend in the lights to the others. That's what I plan to do
Oh,
tomorrow.
oh.
And, yes, so let me see if I can. So let's see what I do. If I want to, I can go like this and then go File, Open. And while I'm in preview, I shouldn't lose you. Let me go back and look at some that Frank Gaskill took. And original, and I think they're all original and adjusted. So let's look. Okay, can you see that?
No, you
No.
gotta stop sharing Tom's.
Oh, so
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
got to go back
close.
and share the new one.
Right.
Yeah, close.
Resume
close them.
share. Did that do it? No, stop share. So I get preview open and ready. And then I have to go over and share it. Let's see. And I do it here.
Oh,
You
you're
see
getting
it?
good at this.
Mhm.
Oh, listen, it'll worth everything to me if I can figure this out. So this was his original shot. And then this is his processed one. And I can go back. Basically, he cropped away what he didn't want and straightened it. And I looked at this, and there wasn't we haven't talked about noise very much. But of course, on a tripod, there's no excuse with a still subject of raising your ISO and getting a problem. If you had movement in the picture, or if you were holding it by hand, then you'd have to raise the ISO to, to get it in focus. This was a neat window that he captured. Then here is another original shot he took. And,
What's this, Mary Lou?
This is a window.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember where.
I think it's the door that goes like from the back of the church. There's like the vestibule or whatever where the,
Oh, you think it was back there? I
Yeah.
wondered, I also took them up onto the third floor. And there were some different things. But in any
Yeah,
case, this was an effort to and I'll tell you how this was gotten. He didn't do this, so I did it this morning, folks, just to make something of it.
Excuse me.
After I adjusted it, I did a lot of cloning to get rid of this bright spot here and these streaks here. After I had adjusted the general exposure, I went back in and cloned out the mess that I couldn't get any other way. I tried to see how I could get rid of that. And there was no way I could get rid of the spot except to clone it out. Yeah. But the funny thing about this is he's caught something through in the next room.
It looks like another window.
yeah, it's a stained glass
Yes, it
window
is.
on the side.
Yeah, it's my church. I'd have to go back and find out where this is. I'm not sure I know where that is.
I took similar pictures of both of those.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well, here's another one he took. This was his original. And this may have been one of the windows in the parlor. The parlor is full of these windows, and the third floor has tall windows, sets of windows for each of the apostles. And it's the symbols that are associated with each apostle. So, it's amazing. It's all over. But anyway, that was the original. And he did, there wasn't too much that had to be done. It straightened it out. It was the main thing it needed. That was because the exposure was done pretty well when he captured that. There wasn't a lot of changing of exposure. And then here, oh, this is one that needed a lot of work. This, I don't know what happened to the sides of this when he took it, but this is the front view to the back. And I had no idea when I looked at this. So I went in, cropped to get rid of that, and then straightened it. So here's the finished one. So I just cropped the mess and then went in and straightened. And it's not perfect as I look at it now. You know, you can see, one of the things you can see, the distance from, can you see my movement of my cursor? The
Yep.
distance from here to the top and from here to the top isn't the same. It isn't totally corrected. It needs a little more work to balance. The left side is higher than the right side, which would mean that the bottom left corner needs to be brought down a little bit to get it straightened out. And again, worked hard on the lights, but I'm going to go in and really take multiple exposures, not lots. Going to get a good exposure of the main part of the church and then a separate exposure of the lights.
Hey, Mary Lou?
Yeah,
Okay, so if you pull down the lower left corner,
yes.
how are you gonna do that? Because everything, all the pews are straight, the back altar is straight.
No, but I'm going to use the skew. The skew doesn't move all the corners. It moves one. Like, it looks to me like I need to pull the right corner to the left. You see this angle here?
Yeah,
Yeah, this part is too far in. So I'm going to take that one out, which will give me a straight line here. And everything between there and this side will shift. And I don't think it's horizontal either. You know how I check that when I'm not sure? I take the selection tool, the marquee tool, and I draw a box across the image and I move it around and it's perfectly horizontal.
oh.
And then I
clever.
line it up to see if the things are truly horizontal. So you can make any number of those. You can make a vertical one and move it around and see if everything lines up vertically. And it's much more accurate than your eye. But my eye says if I did that, this is higher on this side than
Can you
that.
see the before one again?
Yeah,
So I think you're, part of the challenge is I don't think it's like square and symmetrical right off the bat there, you know?
oh, no, it wasn't. I mean, part of the difficulty was, I mean, I could have gone in and simply done a straighten one way. But when I see things that are in this kind of trouble, I like to play with the corners. And usually that enables me to correct it. Perspective would be nice, but in this case, I don't have a perfect perspective problem. It needs to be, corrected.
No,
But-
did you use the transform tool then crop, or did you crop and then do the?
No,
transform?
I could have done that, but it was so bad. The only time I crop early is when I totally don't want to deal with part of the picture. So I did a crop that got rid of the junk on both sides.
Okay,
And then I started playing with corners and I just did it too quickly. I need to go back and make it better. But it bothered me so badly to see that horrible junk. I had to get rid of it. I'm not even sure where it came from. But it was there in the picture. So I went ahead and I fooled with it. But he gave me some so that the class could use some images to play with. And
this
so
will be
when
a
I
good one.
wanted, so I had to do a little something with them to show them to you. But I don't know whether I have anyone else that's in a shape. I think it was the two of them are the ones that I had. Let me just, I think that, did I have a third one here? Tom, Frank? No, and that, no, the others would have been old ones of mine. So I have a little job because the problem that I was most concerned about was when you have very bright electric lights and otherwise a low light subject. And I think the thing is to multiple exposure and go ahead and get these exposed correctly. And then as long as I'm on a tripod and I don't move it, I should be able to merge them. And I will merge them before I do any other corrections. No, I'll get them merging before I start playing around with pulling things.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, it's a challenge. And low light, the biggest challenge in low light images I find is when there's too much contrast. You know, that it's easier to work with low light images that are evenly lighted. And I think I'll find out with the class on Saturday, we'll play with blending in the lights to the otherwise bright exposure.
Okay.
And we'll see how it works. You know, the other thing is I did not take any effort to bring out the ceiling. Now that I could have also brought out the ceiling up there, but I would have had to, I think, select for that real dark area. Because if I start lightening that too much, well, I go into my luminosity selections and select the very darkest selection, and then it'll mostly change that. And it won't change the lighter areas. So lots to playing. I'm also going to work with luminosity selections tomorrow, since we've talked about them and haven't done it for a while. So those are the two items I'm going to do. Anyone's welcome from 9 to 10:30 at the church. And anytime I'm there, you're welcome to leave the class and go take pictures. Yeah. But I like challenging things. And I also think too often I don't set up jobs for myself where I have to use a tripod. And it's good to work a tripod occasionally. Yeah.
What do you use for the luminosity masks?
I have Tony Kuiper's, he has free luminosity masking that will work in both Photoshop Elements and in full Photoshop. There are actions. And he has 4 sets of actions. One will take you to a levels adjustment layer. One will take you to a brightness and contrast adjustment level. One is a pure selection, which you can put on anything you want as a mask. And then he has one of the best things he offers is burning and dodging through a luminosity selection. You know, the old burning and dodging where you want to work on part of an image, but you can't do it. One of the examples I use in my classes is a picture I have of a bird up above me in the sky. And his under wings are so dark, but he's surrounded by a bright blue sky. Well, there's no way I can dodge and burn and not hit the blue sky unless I select the darkness level of the bird. And then when I dodge and burn, it doesn't touch the sky. So it's a way of working on one part of brightness and contrast. He has 5 lights selections, 5 dark selections, and several mid-tone selections. And you find the one that features what you want to change and doesn't let you change the others. So what happens in a layer mask is if the mask is black, nothing will show from the work you do on that layer. And if it's pure white, everything you do will show. And his selections blend beautifully between the different levels so that it focuses your change on the part of the image you want to change and never is abrupt. You never see where you started or stopped. They're very handy ways of being, in the days, when you do global adjustment on an image, it's never very satisfactory. And it certainly wouldn't be very satisfactory in these kind of images. If you applied the same brightening to everything, it would be a mess.
Yeah.
You work through a luminosity selection. It's a selection of the level of brightness you want to change from 5. His light 5 is extremely only the real bright things. And he goes down to 1, which is just everything that is average brightness or brighter. And then he goes down the same way on the darks. And you just find one that you see is going to let you change what you want. And then your adjustments are not global. They're on just the level of brightness you want. Since I learned to use those, they've transformed most of my post-processing. I do my raw work, which is just crude, getting the stuff down to where it could be the best captures possible. And then a lot of my development is done working on different levels of brightness to to bring out what my eye saw. And of course, my eye has the blessing of being able to dilate and close down. And so when I'm looking at a scene around me, if I look at a bright area of the scene, it looks great because my pupils close and the camera doesn't know how to do that.
How
So-
did you learn to use those luminosity masks, the Tony Kuiper?
Okay, I learned to use them through Tony Kuiper's instruction. There's wonderful tutorials he's done.
The
And I-
videos?
Yeah, he has video instructions, and Sean Bagshaw works for him. Now, he offers the free set for Elements. And when nobody has worked with it, I tell them, start with his free element set, and they're just loaded into the action panel. You can do them on any version. And then as you become more competent, he has a free TK panel, which is for full Photoshop. And you do more individual work and you have more options. But if people haven't worked with them, I'd say, I have in my stuff how to go out and download them. I say, start with the ones for Elements. And if you're using Photoshop, you just install them in the action panel of Photoshop and work with them, because you don't have to do as much to get started. And you begin to understand what the concept is. Then you get to the point where if you get his panel for full Photoshop and you have a lot more options, you're not lost. I find, in fact, I believe this when I find new people to digital photography and they're in a club and I'm there and I see somebody in the club telling them to get a subscription to Photoshop, I cringe. They'd be better getting a hold of Photoshop Elements and using it until they know something about post-processing and understand exposure. Then if they get the subscription, they'll use it. I saw one new person who was sitting in front of a computer with Photoshop on it, and their expression, I wish I'd recorded it. They were absolutely lost, and I felt like they'll go home and never use it. So I think you need to start at where you have a lot of guidance, and then you become more independent as you go
Well, yeah,
along.
Mary Lou, I have to give you a lot of credit. Way back when, and you got me to start going to your classes. A little bit before that, I'd sat down with my daughter who has the full Photoshop,
Yes,
and I'm looking at it, I'm going, the hell is all this stuff?
yeah, yeah.
And I was just so overwhelmed. But then you suggested getting Elements and doing and then we work with Elements, and then eventually you get to the place where,
You're
it's
ready
not that hard. Yeah, you're ready to make the jump, and that's absolutely the best advice you can give anybody. So
Yeah, because
I would-
we all know, if you try to learn something new and you're put in over your head, you give up.
Yep.
You
Yep.
got it. And this was true all through the years when I was teaching elementary school. You have to find kids where they are. And then you bring them to be more skilled. But you try not to overwhelm somebody who's learning.
No, they'll shut down.
No. But anyway, it's so much fun. And what I like most about post-processing is being in control. In other words, I don't want to randomly try out something somebody else created. And I find what bothers me in presets is if I use one, I have to have a program that lets me change the preset as I work with it. I can start with a preset and then I must apply my own effects. Otherwise, I don't feel very satisfied with it, But that's just my approach to it. I'm a person who likes to be in control of what I'm doing and not just kind of randomly saying, I accidentally got this. Isn't this nice? We all know that we've seen the work of some people where everything they show us looks about the same. No matter what picture they take, you can tell they've probably applied the same thing to everything they take. And I say, hey, if they get a market and they found a way to sell pictures, by all means, produce them for sale. But don't let yourself get stuck not knowing how to create your own
Right.
thing. Anyway, this was lots of fun.
Good. You want to stop sharing your screen so we can see your face?
Oh, yes, sure.
There we go.
Yes. I have very poor lighting I've got to create a new lamp because my lamp is on one side. And I haven't figured a good lighting. So one of these days I'm gonna be able to light things as well as Maria does. She's so well lit.
I have a light right above me.
Yeah, I've got to figure out some way in my house of having a light that's suitable for this. And Kevin, you have similar problem. Your light is on one side.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm
And
a
that,
one-sided face.
and we'll get that corrected over the next couple of months, but it's,
Yeah. Well, I'd be happy sometime, Kevin, just to go online with you and Zoom to perfect how you share screens.
okay.
Yeah, because I think it's an important skill to know how to do if you're going to use Zoom.
Yep, we can do that.
So Mary Lou, it's really simple though. I mean, whatever windows you have open on your computer, when you hit to share your screen, it will show you all of the windows and you choose the one you want people to see.
Okay, so you have to prepare your screen first. So for instance, if I wanted to use, I closed Bridge, so I can't, but when I wanted to show it, if I went to my preview and I set it up like I wanted it to be, now I have to come back to Zoom because I've lost my share screen option. And then I can share my screen and then I click on this one and you see it, right?
Yep,
Okay. Well, I can, if I practice with you, Kevin, I'll have several different things
all right,
set up. And I'd like to get to the point where it isn't, I don't feel it's clumsy.
okay.
But
Hi,
anyway,
all. I just wanted to say, I thought tonight was fun and I enjoyed watching the before and after pictures. I have a question for Pat. You know, Pat, you went to a lot of different churches. Did you have to ask permission in all those churches like Maria did?
I actually went to mass, so it was right after. So when people were leaving. That's why some of them, I didn't have a choice of my angle.
So go to church first and then go to the service and then you can take pictures. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll get me going again.
but you can also, most churches, you can all indicate you're a photographer and you've been photographing the beautiful churches in Buffalo, and they have such a beautiful church.
Okay.
Is there a time, and they'll be there working in the office
Ah,
and they'll arrange with you to come.
okay.
Because most of these churches have a lot of hours when nothing is happening in the sanctuary.
Mm,
But I'd
Okay.
encourage you also to ask them what they consider the most beautiful part of their church.
Ah,
They may direct you not only to the sanctuary, but like in Central Park, I don't know, nobody would ever build a church today and put in stained glass windows in almost every room.
yeah. Mhm.
The day room where I teach classes has stained glass windows in it. The parlors are full of stained glass windows. And
Mhm.
the big, huge commercial meeting room on the top floor has these gorgeous images of the six apostles.
Hmm.
And it's the symbols that were important in their lives.
Right.
Mary Lou,
Yeah,
I hate to do this to you, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
yes.
And volunteer you to do another photo adventure challenge in your church, but of the stained glass windows.
Strictly on those. Yes, and that would mean getting there in a little later when the sun rises, Bet. Right now, we were there like at 9 or 10 in the morning. I bet by 11, see, you know, these churches, we all know this, they build them with the altar in the north.
Right,
Then there's a bank of windows in the east and the west. So if you're going to get the best light on the east windows. But if there's enough sun up, and if you're lucky enough to have a day, we had a cloudy, rainy day. If you're lucky to have a clear day, all the windows will be beautifully lighted. Yeah. And yeah, and I would encourage us to also go to some of the other rooms. I took everybody around that first Saturday. And I said, boy, I worked. I went up and downstairs. We have 3 flights. And but it was you know, there are certainly, we could do more focus on windows. Yeah.
okay.
And then if we did, we'd let the daylight provide the light and we would not put the overhead lights on probably.
Yeah,
We would just use the light coming in the windows.
then
Mary Lou, you mentioned
Jeff
that-
wouldn't have anything to do with post-processing, but
Mary, Lou,
but-
you mentioned the third floor had windows. Is there anything on the second floor?
Yeah, the first, well, wait a minute. It's really the second floor. It's huge, a degree above. That in there's the office of the third floor. No, the second floor is where we had the apostle windows. The third floor is not well maintained at this point. It has storage mostly, but it still has some stained glass windows in it. But that is not the developed part of the church. We store up there mostly. We have a young organist choir director we just hired. He's in probably his late 20s, I'm guessing. He looks so young. And he arrived to play for the first Sunday, and he went in on the day before just to kind of practice. And there was a cipher in the organ going off. And somebody took him up to the third floor and he climbed a ladder all the way up to where the organ pipes were. And he knew how to find a cipher and correct it. So we have a gem. He has repaired and built organs in addition to being a
wow.
performer. And he
Wow.
got rid of that cipher. And of course, we have a historical organ, but it's old. And you have
Does
to
he-
know what,
Does he play that boogie woogie music?
I haven't heard boogie woogie music, but he started out as a pianist and he added the organ. And so when we he's been with us a few weeks, and when we have beautiful anthems that have gorgeous piano parts, he doesn't play them in the organ. We have a grand piano in the sanctuary,
Hmm.
and we come down to the grand piano, and it's wonderful. And I notice when we have communion, instead of playing the organ during communion, he comes down to the piano and improvises on the piano. during
Oh.
communion. And
Lucked
so it's-
out.
yeah, and it's fun and to see somebody who has so many different skills, but to think that he was able to fix the organ on the first day that he was going to play.
So Mary Lou, you said there was a cipher?
Yeah, a cipher is when one of the stops is stuck open and it can't close. The pipes, one of the pipes has a thing which opens and closes depending whether you're using it.
Uh-huh.
And if that one gets stuck and you can't close it, it keeps playing. As long as there's
Oh.
air going through, you can't shut off that note. Because every pipe has to be controlled from the keyboard. And when you don't push it, it has to stop.
Hmm.
He had one that was playing constantly. There was one Sunday with the previous organist when he couldn't do anything about it. And he transposed all of the music he was playing, all the hymns and everything, in a key where the cipher wouldn't get in the way. These
That's
are the skills you have to have as an organist on an old organ. Yeah, anyway, it's fun to watch a young person, and it's for us, it's wonderful to have the vitality of a young person, just like in
Sure.
any camera club. When you get young people into that camera club, you get that energy and vitality that's wonderful. And we're loving him, he's just a delightful gentleman. Yeah. And he owns a home in Buffalo, so he's not going to leave right away.
Oh, good.
Yeah. 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 So anytime you think that it would be good to do something else,
Okay.
I'm glad to do it. You're not imposing. And as
Okay.
I said, I have my own key. So all I have to do is check the schedule to be sure nothing's going on in the sanctuary. Or if there's something going on in one room, we just don't use that room.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, folks.
All right. Thank you for doing this, Kevin.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And don't
Thanks, Kevin.
don't forget tomorrow night's the pre-competition
Yes,
image review.
that's right.
So
And I have to pick, I haven't gone back. When we get off the Zoom meeting, I have to go look and choose pictures. I haven't done that.
Well, do it quick because it's, I want to be able to download them, get them all ready
Yeah.
to do tomorrow night. So
I
do it quick.
promise I will get them in tonight.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you, y'all.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for participating.